Lieutenant Sam Wright stood at the edge of the training field on Nexus Station, watching alien cadets perform exercises that seemed almost impossible. Some lifted weights that would crush a human. Others ran at speeds that made them blur. A few even climbed vertical walls with no equipment at all. Sam took a deep breath and tried to ignore the nervous feeling in his stomach. 5 years ago, humans had made first contact with the Galactic Confederation, a union of 27 alien species that controlled most of the known galaxy. After much debate, Earth had been granted provisional membership, allowing a small number of humans to join Confederation institutions. Sam was one of just 5 humans selected for the elite Confederation Military Academy this year. Another human delegate? A voice clicked and hissed behind him. How interesting. Sam turned to see Ambassador Zortek approaching. The ambassador belonged to the Vristic species, tall, insect-like creatures with 4 arms and shiny black exoskeletons. Zortek was the Confederation's official liaison to Earth and made no effort to hide his low opinion of humans. Ambassador, Sam said with a respectful nod. I'm honored to represent Earth at the Academy. Yes, Zortek waved one of his 4 hands dismissively. The last 3 humans couldn't even complete the physical assessment course, withdrew before the halfway point. But we value diversity of perspective. The way he said? Diversity made it clear he considered human inclusion a political necessity rather than a benefit. Sam bit his tongue. He'd heard these comments since arriving at Nexus Station 2 weeks ago. Humans were classified as a fragile species alongside beings from low-gravity worlds. The assessment course tests many attributes, Sam replied carefully. I've been training specifically for it. Zortek's mandibles clicked in what Sam had learned was their version of laughter. Training cannot change your fundamental biology, Lieutenant Wright. Your calcium-based skeleton is simply not designed for the rigors of Confederation service, but your presence here is symbolic. No one expects you to excel physically. Before Sam could respond, a loud tone sounded across the field, signaling the end of the training period. Zortek nodded once and walked away, leaving Sam alone with his thoughts, back in his quarters. Sam reviewed the data files on the upcoming assessment course. The Academy required all new cadets to complete a physical evaluation to determine their abilities and appropriate training regimen. For most species, it was a chance to showcase their natural advantages. For humans, it had become a humiliation. The door slid open and Kel entered. The Proximan was Sam's roommate and, surprisingly, had become something of a friend. With 4 arms like Zortek, but a more humanoid face and blue-tinted skin, Kel was from a species known for mathematical brilliance rather than physical prowess. Still studying the course? Kel asked, setting down a container of food. I brought you dinner. The nutrition staff finally figured out something humans can eat without getting sick. Sam nodded gratefully. Thanks, and yes, I'm trying to prepare. The physical trials begin tomorrow. Kel settled into his oversized chair. You? No, they've modified parts of the course this year. There are rumors it's been adjusted to accommodate to accommodate humans? Sam finished, trying to keep the bitterness from his voice. Because we're so fragile? I didn't say that, Kel protested. You didn't have to. Everyone else does. Sam closed the data files and stood up, stretching. I grew up in rural Oregon, hiking mountains and chopping wood since I was 12. I spent 6 years in the Marines before being selected for this program. I don't need special accommodations. Kel's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of confusion. But human physiology is objectively more vulnerable than most Confederation species. Your bones break under pressure that would barely affect a Draxion. Your skin tears easily. You lack natural armor or regenerative abilities. There's more to strength than not breaking, Sam said quietly. Sometimes it's about what you do after you break. Kel clearly didn't understand, but he nodded anyway. The course starts at dawn. You should rest. That night, Sam couldn't sleep. He kept reviewing course footage, noting how previous human candidates had struggled and eventually withdrawn. Their failures had cemented the Confederation's view of humans as intellectually capable but physically inferior beings. Tomorrow would be Sam's chance to change that perception. Morning came too quickly. Sam joined 50 other cadets at the starting line. They represented 20 different species, each evolved for different environments and possessing unique advantages. The Draxians with their thick, armor-like skin, the six-limbed Vorkans with their incredible speed, the gelatinous Mern who could reshape their bodies to overcome obstacles. Among them, Sam looked painfully ordinary. Commander Nix, the Academy's head instructor, stood before them. Nix belonged to the Solari, one of the founding species of the Confederation. Tall and imposing with gray skin and eyes that glowed slightly, Nix had a reputation for absolute fairness. Cadets, Nix's voice carried easily across the field. Today's assessment is not a competition against each other, but a measurement of your individual capabilities. The course is 15 miles long with 22 obstacles designed to test strength, speed, endurance, adaptability, and pain tolerance. There is no time limit, but failure to complete any section will result in your withdrawal. Sam noticed how Nix's glowing eyes lingered on him as this last part was said. Medical staff will monitor your progress. If they determine you are at risk of permanent injury, you will be removed from the course regardless of your wishes. Nix paused. Remember, this assessment identifies your capabilities and limitations. There is no shame in withdrawal when you reach your natural limits. Again, that look toward Sam. The message was clear. No one expected him to finish. The course begins with the high-gravity zone, Nix continued, followed by the climbing section, low-gravity obstacles, acid pools, temperature extremes, sensory challenges, underwater navigation, and finally, the variable gravity sprint. Prepare yourselves. Sam rolled his shoulders and focused his mind. Around him, alien cadets performed their species' pre-exercise rituals. Some stretched multiple limbs. Others secreted protective coatings. A few entered meditative states to control their metabolism. Sam just breathed deeply and remembered why he was here. Not just for himself, but for all humans. To show the Confederation what they had misunderstood about his species. The starting signal blared and the cadets surged forward toward the first challenge, a half-mile stretch where gravity was doubled. Immediately, Sam felt his body become unbearably heavy. Each step required tremendous effort. The Draxians and Vorkans powered ahead, their evolved musculature barely affected by the increased gravity. The human is still moving, one of the instructors noted with surprise as Sam pushed forward, one grueling step at a time. Sam didn't respond. He couldn't waste energy on words. He just kept moving, even as his legs burned and his lungs strained. The aliens had thought humans were fragile. He was about to show them what humans were really made of. Sam pushed through the high-gravity zone, each step a battle against his own weight. Sweat poured down his face as he watched many of the alien cadets power ahead. The Draxians moved like they barely noticed the increased gravity, their thick legs carrying them forward with ease. Sam gritted his teeth and kept moving. "Look at the human," a Vorkan cadet said to another as they passed Sam. "He's already struggling and we're only at the first obstacle." Sam ignored them. He had trained for this. Back on Earth, he had used weighted suits and specialized equipment to prepare for high-gravity conditions. It wasn't the same, but it helped. By the end of the first half-mile, Sam had fallen to the middle of the pack, but he was still moving. As he exited the high-gravity zone, Sam saw several cadets already dropping out. A gelatinous Mern had spread too thin under the pressure. 2 Tassic cadets with bird-like features were being treated by medical staff for joint strain. "Cadet Wright," a medical officer called as Sam passed. "Do you require assessment?" "No," Sam replied, his breathing heavy but controlled. "I'm good to continue." The officer looked surprised but made a note on his tablet. Sam didn't wait for further questions. The next section was already visible ahead, a massive climbing wall with handholds that looked like razor-sharp metal. As Sam approached the wall, he studied how the other cadets were tackling it. The 4-armed species like Kel had a clear advantage, able to maintain 3 points of contact while moving a 4th limb. Others used natural adhesives or claws to grip the surface. Sam reached the wall and touched one of the handholds carefully. It was as sharp as it looked, with edges that could easily slice human skin. He pulled a pair of thin gloves from his pocket and put them on. They wouldn't provide much protection, but some was better than none. "Those won't help much," said a voice beside him. It was Kel, who had fallen back from the leaders after the gravity zone. "The handholds are designed to test pain tolerance as much as climbing skill." "Better than nothing," Sam replied. Starting his climb, the first few handholds weren't too bad, but as Sam climbed higher, they became sharper and more irregularly spaced. Soon, he felt the edges cutting through his gloves. Warm blood made his grip slippery. Sam paused, breathing deeply to control the pain, then continued upward. By the time he reached the top of the 30-foot wall, Sam's gloves were in tatters and his hands were bleeding from multiple cuts. Medical staff waited at the top, spraying healing compound on the injuries of cadets who reached the summit. "Your hands need treatment," a medic told Sam, examining the cuts. "Just a quick spray," Sam insisted. "I need to keep moving." The medic applied the healing compound, which stung fiercely before numbing the pain. "This will stop the bleeding and provide temporary protection, but it won't fully heal the wounds during the course." "That's fine," Sam said, flexing his fingers to test his grip. "What's next?" The next section was a series of low-gravity obstacles, floating platforms that had to be navigated by jumping between them. With gravity reduced to about 20% of Earth normal, each jump had to be carefully controlled to avoid overshooting. Sam watched other cadets testing their jumps. Several were struggling with the sudden change in conditions. Two Drexians, so powerful in the high-gravity zone, now found their strength working against them as they launched themselves too far on each jump. Sam stepped onto the course, feeling the strange lightness in his limbs. He had trained for this too in Earth's best low-gravity simulators. The key was small, controlled movements. He made his first jump, pushing off gently from the platform. The sensation of floating was both exhilarating and disorienting. Sam sailed through the air, arms out for balance, and landed successfully on the next platform. Around him, other cadets were having varying degrees of success. One Vorkan had miscalculated badly and was being fished out of the safety net below by course officials. Sam continued jumping from platform to platform, gaining confidence with each successful landing. He was making good progress, moving up through the pack. Maybe humans weren't so bad at this after all. He was about halfway through the low-gravity section when it happened. Sam pushed off for a jump to a platform that was rotating slowly. He timed his leap to land on the flat side, but as he sailed through the air, the platform rotated faster than he expected. Instead of landing on the flat surface, Sam slammed chest first into the edge of the platform. The impact knocked the air from his lungs. Sam instinctively grabbed the edge of the platform to avoid falling. Pain exploded in his chest, sharp and familiar. He had broken ribs before during Marine training. This felt the same. Hanging from the edge of the platform, Sam fought to catch his breath. Each inhale sent spikes of pain through his chest. He pulled himself up onto the platform and sat there, one hand pressed against his side. "Cadet Wright." A voice called over the communication system. "Medical sensors indicate possible skeletal damage. Remain in position for extraction." Sam looked up to see a medical team already moving toward him on a floating platform. Around him, other cadets were watching, some with curiosity, others with what looked like pity. "Human bones are so fragile," he heard one cadet say to another. "I'm surprised they even let them attempt the course." Sam's jaw tightened. This was exactly the attitude he had come here to change. With a grimace of pain, he pushed himself to his feet. "Cadet Wright, please remain stationary," the medical officer called again. "We're reading multiple rib fractures." Sam ignored the command and surveyed the next platform. It was about 10 feet away, a simple jump even with injured ribs. He took as deep a breath as the pain would allow and jumped. The landing sent fresh waves of agony through his chest, but Sam remained on his feet. He looked back to see the medical team and several course officials staring at him in surprise. Commander. Nix's voice came over the communication system. Cadet Wright, medical scans confirm 3 fractured ribs. Protocol requires your withdrawal from the course. Sam stood straight despite the pain. With respect, Commander, I wish to continue. Long pause followed. Sam could almost imagine the confusion his request was causing. In the Confederation's experience, when a being was damaged, they stopped. It was the logical thing to do, but humans didn't always do the logical thing. Your continued participation with confirmed skeletal fractures is inadvisable, Nix finally replied. However, there is no rule explicitly forbidding it if medical staff can ensure no risk of fatal complications. A medical officer floated over to Sam. I need to examine your injuries before we can allow you to continue. Sam nodded and lifted his shirt. The officer ran a scanning device over Sam's ribs, frowning at the results. 3 definite fractures, possibly a 4th, the officer reported. I can provide a stabilizing wrap and pain management, but continuing is ill-advised. I'll take the wrap, Sam said. Skip the pain management. I need to stay alert. The medical officer looked at him like he was insane but applied a tight binding around Sam's torso. The wrap immediately supported the broken ribs, making breathing slightly easier. This is highly irregular, the officer said. I've never seen a species voluntarily continue with broken support structures. Sam managed a small smile despite the pain. There's a lot about humans you haven't seen yet. With his ribs wrapped, Sam turned back to the course. There were still more than 10 miles to go. The real test was just beginning. Word spread quickly through the observation deck that the human cadet was continuing the course with broken ribs. Many of the alien instructors and officials gathered around viewing screens to watch Sam's progress. They had never seen anything like this before. Their species is completely irrational, said one Vristic instructor. Continuing physical exertion with compromised structural integrity defies all logic. Commander Nix watched the screens with growing interest. Perhaps. Or perhaps we have misunderstood something fundamental about humans. Sam finished the low-gravity section and moved toward the next challenge. Each breath sent sharp pains through his chest, but he had developed a rhythm of shallow breathing that minimized the worst of it. The medical wrap helped hold his ribs in place, preventing them from shifting and causing more damage. The next section of the course consisted of a series of narrow bridges over pools of bubbling acid. The acid wasn't strong enough to kill, but contact would cause painful chemical burns. Sam watched as a 6-limbed Vorkon ahead of him moved across with incredible speed and precision. Several other cadets crossed more cautiously. Sam approached the first bridge. It was only about 6 inches wide, forcing cadets to balance carefully. With his injured ribs affecting his balance, this would be especially challenging. Sam placed 1 foot on the bridge and steadied himself. The pain in his side flared as he tensed his core muscles for balance. Take your time, human, called a course official. Safety nets will catch you if you fall, but they won't prevent acid contact. Sam nodded and began to move across the bridge. He placed 1 foot carefully in front of the other, arms extended for balance. The pain in his ribs made him want to hunch to one side, but that would throw off his balance. Instead, he forced himself to stand straight, despite the agony. Halfway across, a wave of dizziness hit him. Sam swayed dangerously. Several observers gasped, expecting him to fall. But Sam closed his eyes for a moment, took a controlled breath, and regained his balance. Remarkable control, murmured a Solari instructor. Even with damaged internal structures. Sam made it across the first bridge and continued through the acid pool section. By the time he finished the last bridge, several more cadets had dropped out of the course. From the original 50, only 35 remained. And despite his injury, Sam was no longer at the back of the pack. The temperature extreme zone came next. This section alternated between freezing cold and intense heat every 100 yards. Cadets had to adapt quickly to the changing conditions, or risk hypothermia or heat stroke. Sam entered the first cold zone. The temperature dropped to well below freezing, and his breath came out in white clouds. The cold actually helped numb the pain in his ribs somewhat, but it also made his muscles stiff and less responsive. Sam kept moving, knowing that stopping would be dangerous. As he pushed through to the heat zone, the temperature soared to over 100 degrees. Sweat immediately broke out all over Sam's body. The sudden change was disorienting. Several cadets around him were struggling, especially species adapted to specific climate ranges. "The human is still going," Ambassador Zortek said with surprise as he joined Commander Nix on the observation deck. "How is this possible with broken support structures?" "I've been reviewing our data on human physiology," Nix replied. "It seems we have categorized them incorrectly. Their endurance capabilities are exceptional, even when damaged." Sam continued through 3 more alternating temperature zones. The rapid changes were taking a toll, but he pushed through the discomfort. His military training had included cold weather and desert exercises. This was brutal but not unfamiliar. By the time Sam exited the temperature zone, 5 more cadets had withdrawn. Some couldn't handle the rapid transitions. Others had pushed too hard in earlier sections and were now exhausted. Sam's slow but steady pace was proving effective. The next challenge was the sensory overload zone. Here, cadets were subjected to blinding lights, disorienting sounds, and confusing smells. The goal was to navigate through the chaos without becoming completely disoriented. As Sam entered the zone, he was immediately hit with flashing lights that made it nearly impossible to see. High-pitched sounds assaulted his ears, and strange chemical smells filled his nostrils. The combination was designed to overwhelm all senses at once. Sam's head began to pound, and nausea rose in his throat. The sensory assault combined with his rib pain was almost too much. He stumbled forward, one hand outstretched to feel for obstacles, the other pressed against his injured side. "Cadet Wright's vital signs are becoming erratic," a medical officer reported. "Heart rate elevated. Stress indicators high. Is he in danger?" Commander Nix asked. "Not immediate danger, but he's approaching his limits." Sam couldn't see where he was going. He could barely think through the sensory bombardment. But he kept moving, one foot in front of the other. His training had taught him to function even when his senses couldn't be trusted. Eventually the lights, sounds, and smells began to fade. Sam emerged from the sensory zone, blinking as his eyes readjusted to normal light. He was drenched in sweat, and the pain in his ribs had intensified from the tension in his muscles. "Cadet Wright," a medical officer approached him with a scanner. "I need to check your condition." Sam stopped, too exhausted to argue. The officer ran the scanner over Sam's chest and frowned at the results. "The fractures have not worsened, but you're showing signs of extreme fatigue. Your body is burning resources at an unsustainable rate. How many sections left?" Sam asked, his voice hoarse. "2 major sections. Underwater navigation followed by the variable gravity sprint." Sam nodded. "I can finish." The officer looked skeptical but didn't try to stop him. "Take these," he said, offering 2 small tablets. "Electrolyte and nutrient supplements. They'll help prevent collapse." Sam took the tablets gratefully and swallowed them. As he rested for a moment, he saw Kel emerging from the sensory zone. His Proximan roommate looked shaken but relatively unharmed. "Sam?" Kel said in disbelief when he spotted the human. "You're still in the course? With broken ribs?" "Still here," Sam confirmed with a pained smile. "But why continue? You've already proven humans aren't as fragile as we thought. No one would think less of you for withdrawing with a legitimate injury." Sam took a careful breath before answering. "It's not about what others think anymore. It's about finishing what I started." Kel's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, his species' expression of profound confusion. "I don't understand." "That's okay," Sam said. "You don't have to understand to respect it." Before Kel could respond, the announcement came for cadets to proceed to the underwater section. Sam pushed himself to his feet, wincing at the stab of pain in his side. "See you at the finish line," he told Kel, then headed toward the large pool that marked the beginning of the underwater navigation challenge. On the observation deck, the number of officials watching Sam had grown. Word had spread about the human with broken ribs who refused to quit. Many had come simply to see when he would finally break. Others were beginning to watch with something close to respect. "I've never seen anything like this," Ambassador Zortek admitted. "Perhaps we have underestimated these humans." Commander Nix nodded slowly. "I believe we have made a serious error in our assessment of their species. They possess a quality we have not properly measured." "What quality is that?" Zortek asked. Nix watched as Sam prepared to enter the underwater section. 23 cadets remaining from the original 50. "I'm not sure we have a name for it in our language," Nix replied. "But I believe the humans call it determination." Sam stood at the edge of the large pool that marked the underwater navigation section. This part of the course required cadets to swim through a complex maze of tunnels and chambers while managing their oxygen supply. Each cadet was given a breathing device that provided 15 minutes of air, more than enough time if you knew where you were going, but barely sufficient if you got lost. The medical officer approached Sam once more before he entered the water. "The wrap around your ribs is waterproof, but underwater pressure will increase the pain. Are you certain you wish to continue?" Sam nodded. "I'm sure." The officer handed him a breathing device. "This is adjusted for human physiology. Remember that ascending too quickly can cause additional injuries with your fractured ribs." Sam took the device and placed it in his mouth, testing the airflow. It felt strange but workable. He stepped to the edge of the pool and looked down into the clear water. He could see the entrance to the underwater maze below with a deep breath through his nose. Sam dove into the water. The impact sent a fresh wave of pain through his chest, but he pushed past it and began to swim downward. The cool water actually helped reduce the swelling around his ribs, providing some relief even as the pressure increased the baseline pain. Sam reached the entrance to the maze and paused to get his bearings. Signs with Universal Confederation. Symbols marked different paths. Some led to dead ends. Others connected to the main route in roundabout ways. The most direct path was also the most physically challenging, requiring cadets to swim through narrow passages and against artificial currents. Sam chose a middle path, not the most direct but not the easiest either. He swam forward, his movements carefully controlled to minimize the strain on his ribs. Each kick and arm stroke was measured, efficient. In the observation center, Commander Nix and the other officials watched Sam's progress on monitors that tracked all cadets through the underwater section. "His technique is surprisingly efficient," noted a MERN instructor whose species was naturally aquatic. "He's not the fastest, but his movement is very economical." "Humans evolved near water but not in it," Commander Nix explained. "They're not natural swimmers, but many learn the skill." Sam navigated through the first chamber of the maze and into a narrow tunnel. The passage was tight, forcing him to pull himself along using handholds on the walls. Each tug sent pain shooting through his ribs, but he kept moving. Halfway through the tunnel, Sam encountered another cadet, a Tasik, who appeared to be panicking. The bird-like alien was struggling against the water, its movements becoming increasingly desperate. Sam recognized the signs of oxygen deprivation and fear. Despite his own pain and the time pressure, Sam paused. He tapped the Tasik's shoulder and made a universal calming gesture, placing his palm flat and moving it downward slowly. The Tasik's frantic movements slowed slightly. Sam pointed to his own breathing device, then to the Tasik's, and neighed. An exaggerated, slow breathing motion. The Tasik seemed to understand. It began to breathe more slowly through its device, and its movements became more controlled. Sam gave a thumbs-up sign, then pointed forward along the tunnel. The Tasik nodded and began moving again. Now, with more purpose and less panic. Sam continued through the tunnel behind the Tasik, making sure the other cadet remained calm. They emerged into a larger chamber with multiple exits. The Tasik chose one path while Sam selected another, and they parted ways with a brief gesture of acknowledgement. "Did you see that?" Ambassador Zortek asked, watching the monitor. The human stopped to assist the Tasik cadet despite his own injury and the time constraints. "Interesting," Commander Nix replied. "Most species focus solely on their own Performance during assessment. Perhaps it's a pack behavior, suggested another official. Humans evolved as social predators according to our studies. Sam continued through the underwater maze, his oxygen supply gradually depleting. The pain in his ribs was constant now, a burning sensation that spread across his entire chest. But he had become almost used to it, pushing it to the back of his mind as he focused on navigation. After 10 minutes underwater, Sam could see the exit point ahead, a shaft of light cutting through the water from the surface. He swam upward, careful to ascend slowly to avoid putting additional stress on his injured ribs. As Sam broke the surface, he took a deep breath of fresh air and removed the breathing device. Medical staff waited at the edge of the pool to help cadets out of the water. Sam swam to the edge and accepted their help, too exhausted to climb out on his own. "Remarkable," said the medical officer who scanned Sam as soon as he was out of the water. "Your vital signs are strained but stable. Most species would be in shock by now with similar injuries and exertion." Sam didn't have the energy to respond. He sat on a bench, water dripping from his uniform, and focused on breathing through the pain. Only 20 cadets remained in the course now. 3 had failed the underwater section, either running out of air or becoming too disoriented to find. "The exit, final section begins in 10 minutes, announced a course official. "All remaining cadets should prepare for the variable gravity sprint." Sam closed his eyes for a moment. He was beyond exhausted. His muscles ached, his lungs burned, and his broken ribs sent spikes of agony through his chest with each breath. But he was still here, still in the course. Kel appeared, having also completed the underwater section. The Proximan looked tired but relatively unharmed. He sat beside Sam and offered him a container of water. "You continue to surprise me, human," Kel said as Sam drank. "No one expected you to make it this far, especially not with broken ribs." "Not done yet," Sam replied, his voice hoarse. "One more section. The variable gravity sprint is the most physically demanding part of the course," Kel warned. "The gravity shifts unpredictably between 1 and 3 times standard. Many cadets fail here even when uninjured." Sam nodded. "I know. Why push yourself this far?" Kel asked. "You've already proven your point. No one will ever call humans fragile again after seeing this." Sam wiped water from his face and looked at his roommate. "It's not about proving a point anymore, Kel. It's about finishing what I started. Humans don't quit just because something hurts or gets hard. Even when continuing causes more damage, sometimes especially then." Sam attempted a smile. "We're stubborn that way." Kel's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "I think I'm beginning to understand. It's not that humans aren't fragile. You do break easily compared to many species. But what happens after you break is what truly defines you." Sam nodded. "Something like that." The 10-minute rest period passed quickly. Soon, course officials were calling for the remaining cadets to assemble at the starting line for the final section. Sam pushed himself to his feet, wincing at the fresh wave of pain. The variable gravity sprint was a straight 1-mile course. Simple in design, brutal in execution. Gravity plates beneath the track would randomly shift between normal gravity and 3 times normal gravity. Cadets had to adapt instantly to these changes or risk injury from falls. As Sam took his position at the starting line, he looked around at the other remaining cadets. Most were from naturally stronger species, Draxions, Vorkans, and Solari. Even Kel, whose Proximan species wasn't known for physical prowess, had 4 arms to help with balance during gravity shifts. "Begin on the signal," the course official announced. "Complete the mile in any way you can. Walking, running, crawling, all are acceptable. The assessment ends when you cross the finish line." Sam took a deep breath, ignoring the pain. 20 cadets remained from the original 50. Against all odds, he was still one of them. Broken ribs or not, he was going to finish this course. The signal sounded and the final sprint began. The final sprint began with normal gravity. Sam started at a steady jog, knowing he couldn't match the speed of many alien cadets but determined to maintain a consistent pace. His broken ribs sent waves of pain through his chest with each footfall. But he had almost grown used to it now. Beside him, Kel moved on all 6 limbs, using his 4 arms and 2 legs to propel himself forward. Ahead, the Draxions and Vorkans sprinted with impressive speed, quickly taking the lead. Then, without warning, the gravity shifted. Sam felt his body suddenly become 3 times heavier. His legs nearly buckled under the sudden weight. All around him, cadets struggled to adjust. 2 fell immediately, unable to support their own weight under the increased gravity. Sam slowed to a walk, each step requiring enormous effort. He leaned forward slightly to maintain balance, careful not to put additional strain on his injured ribs. The wrap around his chest felt tight as his lungs worked harder to pull in enough oxygen. "The human has adapted his gait effectively," noted a course official on the observation deck. "Most cadets try to maintain their previous speed when gravity increases." Commander Nix nodded. "He's pacing himself." "Interesting strategy." After 50 yards of triple gravity, the field suddenly returned to normal. The change was almost as disorienting as the increase had been. Sam nearly stumbled as his legs pushed with too much force for the lighter conditions. He quickly adjusted his stride and picked up speed again, taking advantage of the normal gravity to make up ground. The random changes continued throughout the course. Triple gravity for 70 yards, normal gravity for 40, double gravity for another 60. With each change, more cadets dropped out, their bodies unable to handle the constant adjustments. Sam's vision had narrowed to the track in front of him. His entire world consisted of the next step, the next breath, the next gravity change. The pain in his ribs had become a constant companion, flaring with each impact but never quite fading away. Halfway through the mile, only 15 cadets remained. Sam had fallen toward the back of the pack but was still moving forward steadily. His uniform was soaked with sweat, his breathing shallow and controlled to minimize the movement of his broken ribs. "His vital signs are approaching critical levels," reported a medical officer, monitoring Sam's condition. "Heart rate extremely elevated, oxygen saturation dropping." "Is he in danger of collapse?" Commander Nix asked. "Yes, but not immediate." "Organ failure. He's operating at the extreme edge of human physiological limits." Nix made no move to remove Sam from the course. "Continue monitoring?" The gravity shifted again, increasing to triple normal. Sam felt like he was carrying another person on his back. Each step became a battle against his own weight. His legs burned with exhaustion. The pain in his ribs intensified until it filled his entire chest, making it hard to breathe, but Sam kept moving. One step, another, while other cadets fell around him. He remained upright, pushing forward through sheer force of will. In the observation center, Ambassador Zortek watched with growing amazement. "I've never seen anything like this. The humans should have collapsed long ago." "We've misunderstood their species," Commander Nix replied. "Their physical fragility is offset by something we didn't measure in our initial assessments." "What do you mean?" "Their nervous system allows them to continue functioning despite severe pain, and they possess a psychological resilience that is quite remarkable. The human is not continuing because he can't feel the damage. He's continuing despite feeling it." The final quarter mile was the most brutal. The gravity changes came more frequently, giving cadets almost no time to adjust before conditions changed again. 5 more cadets dropped out, unable to handle the constant shifts. Sam was among the last 10. His movements had become mechanical, automatic. His mind focused solely on moving forward. The finish line was visible now, tantalizingly close yet impossibly far. 100 yards from the finish, the gravity increased to triple normal and stayed there. This was the final test, a punishing sprint under crushing weight. The remaining cadets pushed forward with the last of their strength. Sam's legs felt like lead. Each breath was agony, his vision blurred at the edges. But he could see the finish line. Just a little farther. Just a few more steps, 70 yards, 60, 50. 2 more cadets collapsed, their bodies finally giving out. Sam barely noticed. As he passed them, his world had narrowed to the finish line ahead and the next step beneath his feet. 40 yards, 30. Sam's legs began to shake uncontrollably. His muscles were failing, but he refused to fall. Not now. Not this close? 20 yards, 10. With the last of his strength, Sam pushed forward and crossed the finish line. As soon as he did, the gravity returned to normal. The sudden change caused him to stumble forward and fall to his knees. Medical staff rushed to his side immediately. Sam was barely conscious, his body finally giving in to the exhaustion and pain now that the goal had been achieved. The medical scanner showed dangerously elevated heart rate, low oxygen levels, and severe dehydration. "Get him to medical immediately," ordered the chief medical officer. "Full support protocols." As they lifted Sam onto a stretcher, Commander Nix approached. "How many finished the course?" "8 cadets total, Commander," replied a course official. "The human finished 6th. Nix looked surprised. "6th? Not last?" "No, Commander." 2 more crossed after him, and 2 didn't finish at all. Sam was barely aware of being moved to the medical facility. The world around him faded in and out as his body finally surrendered to the damage it had endured. But through the haze of pain and exhaustion, one thought remained clear: he had finished the course. No one could ever say humans were too fragile. Again, 3 days later, Sam woke in the medical facility. His ribs had been properly treated and were now healing with the help of advanced Confederation medical technology. The pain was still there, but duller, more manageable. As his eyes focused, Sam realized someone was sitting beside his bed. It was Commander Nix. "Cadet Wright," Nix said when he saw Sam was awake. "How are you feeling?" "Better, sir," Sam replied, his voice hoarse. "Good. I've come to inform you of some changes that are being implemented at the Academy." Nix placed a data tablet on the bed beside Sam. "Your performance in the assessment has caused us to reevaluate our classification of human physiology." Sam tried to sit up but winced at the pain in his ribs. "Sir? Humans will no longer be classified as a fragile species. We're creating a new category: endurance specialists. Your ability to continue through conditions that would force other species to withdraw is ... unexpected." Sam couldn't help but smile. "Thank you, sir." "Don't thank me, Cadet. This reclassification means your training regimen will be adjusted accordingly. Once you've recovered, you'll face challenges designed specifically to test your species' unique capabilities. I look forward to it, sir." "Commander." Nix stood. "Rest now. The Academy physician says you'll be released in another day and classes begin next week." As Nix left, Kel entered, carrying what looked like a container of food. "They told me you were awake. I brought you something edible from the mess hall." "Thanks," Sam said, genuinely grateful. "How did you finish in the assessment?" "4th place," Kel replied with pride. "Not bad for a Proximan. But everyone is talking about you, the human who finished the course with broken ribs." Sam shrugged, then regretted the movement as pain shot through his chest. "I just did what humans do." "And that," Kel said, "is what the rest of us are beginning to understand." Throughout the Academy, and soon throughout the Confederation, the story spread. Aliens had thought humans were fragile until one finished their impossible course with broken ribs. They would never make that mistake again.